Hey guys, it's a beautiful Sunday afternoon. I'm out here in this field behind Dad's house that we planted. This is the third field of soybeans planted this year, so you can see the soybeans growing very well behind me. But that's not why I'm here. Well, that's why I originally came here, was to look at soybeans. But I'm trying to figure out how this tile system works out here, or how it's supposed to work. Because if I can't put new tile in here, if I can't afford to, I want to at least try and figure out how to get this functional or semi-functional. So that's what I'm trying to figure out right now. Over there, I showed in the video of planting this field, there's a big hole over there and there's a tile broke there. There's two tiles running right up against each other, and they come up and dump into this riser, which I don't know if this now is considered the county drain. The county drain is that open ditch over there, but online on their map, it shows it coming all the way out into about right here on the field. So I don't know if this is a county drain or if that riser is the county drain. This one has the two that are broke over there, and I cleared the hole of debris to keep the water flowing better. Those are dumping into here, and then it dumps this way into this one. This is all like 12-inch. This is all huge, and it runs that way. Well, once you walk about 30 feet from the riser, because that's how many rows of soybeans are here, it's broke right here. And then that is one of the outlets that dumps into that ditch over there, which I think I showed. I might have edited it out. But those outlets at that ditch are plugged. Well, they're not plugged, but the sediment that is in that ditch is about 4 feet higher than the outlets of those tiles in that ditch. So that's the problem there, is the water level in that ditch is higher than our outlets. So that's something that's got to be addressed, but that's a county drain. Ideally, I'd come back here with an excavator if I had one and clean it out, but I don't have one, so that means we have to try and work with the county on this. But then there's this other riser here, which there's only one tile dumping into this one. It goes off in that direction somewhere, and then the outlet of the riser goes that way, and it goes directly into where that hole is. So either it veers off that way a little bit and goes that way, because there's two outlets on that ditch, or it joins with that one somehow, and then there's just an extra tile run coming off of that ditch somewhere. I don't know what or how it's set up here. It is really weird. But ideally, I'd pull these risers out. This one's cracked and settled, and it broke it there. And there's a tile on this side that's busted, and there's a little tile there that I'm sure is completely crushed and plugged off now. So this riser ideally needs to come out, and we would probably replace this or not. I don't know. If we were putting a new tile system in, we wouldn't replace this. We'd fill it with limestone and then cover it over with topsoil and farm over it. But if we had to replace this riser, we'd get a big plastic one and stick it down in there and splice all those tiles back into it and get it working right again. But I don't know. This is such a pain. And what's got me boggled here too is, even though this hole is here and this tile is broke, there's still water flowing through it. So it's still technically functioning. I don't know why there's water sitting there. There shouldn't be water sitting there unless there's something broke right where that water's at too. Because theoretically, this is tile. It should be on 40, 50 foot centers, and it should drain that. We haven't had a super lot of rain in the last week to cause this to be here. We got about a 1/4 inch on Tuesday, and today's Sunday. This should not be sitting here, and it is really wet. So I'm guessing there's another run or something underneath here that is broke. That's my only explanation on that one. And maybe there's another main over there farther, but I can't tell. I'm not jumping down in there. But yeah, those are the only. There might be another hole over there. I'm going to keep walking and keep investigating, but this is really. It'd be nice if we had tile maps. That's what I'd say, but we don't. So I'm trying to figure this out on my own. I don't know why, but drainage is just really intriguing to me. It's something that I really want to get into, at least on our own farm, and maybe even some contract work. that's what I'm kind of working towards. But yeah, I don't know what it is, but I just really like thoughts about it. See, it's really wet right here. Can you guys see that? I don't know if you can see that, but there's surface water a little bit right here. So that's weird because that's about right in the path of it. We're getting closer to the ditch. That's the direction I'm walking. There's a hole right here. The reason why I know this is because this one popped up in season one year when I was combining with the 9500, and I hit this with one of the wheels, and the combine went whoom, and I busted the head off the front of the combine right here. It was not fun, but we had it going again in an hour or so. There is a little tile there. I can't see what's going on there. We'd have to clean that hole out, but there's a little tile here, but there's something else there. I think this is a junction between the little tile and maybe that main, but there's water physically sitting in that tile there. I can see the bubbles. So the water's not really moving anymore here. That's probably the water line with the ditch, or even that's probably a little lower. So that's interesting. That's probably part of the problem with there being a wet spot through here, is that water sitting in the tile and then seeping out. So yeah, that's kind of weird. But we know the issue's over here, but I'll show them again to you to kind of remind you guys. See, it's wet through here too, which I think there's a tile pretty much right where I'm pointing. There's a tile outlet in the ditch, and I wonder if that one comes out through here and around that way, and then there's another outlet down that way farther, and I wonder if that one comes out this way where all these wet holes are and out to that riser. And I don't know how the second riser's fed. That one's kind of mind-boggling to me. But we kind of got it lucky. These beans weren't out of the ground when this stuff all flooded out a week or two ago. 3 weeks ago, I think it is now. So these beans are still coming up in these areas, and I think they'll be okay as long as we don't get a massive rain. Because all of this from this ditch all the way over to those risers will all be underwater if we get more than 2 inches of rain. But these ones are a solid growth stage or two behind the established beans. Here right off the ditch, about 40 feet, there's a big wet hole here, and this is absolutely nasty wet, especially when we were planting this. I almost had to pick the planter up through this. It was so nasty. But it looks like the beans are making it. They probably won't make it through the season. Like I said, being really wet, they're just not gonna grow well. Beans don't like moisture about as much as corn. So, but they're there now, which gives me some hope, I guess, but it's not a lot. This is all wet through here. Usually this grass is a grass that grows in the wetter areas. This is our first outlet, which there's a hole in the field here, so obviously it's broke right outside the field. This has been there a long time. Then there is always a littler hole here, but that one's kind of filled itself in. And you can look right there, all that sediment, right there is where the outlet is. And it's not even visible right now. Earlier in the spring when we were planting, I could look down there and see the water bubbling up. There was enough head pressure from all the water in the field to keep blowing water out. But you can see there's a pool of water here, and then it's just a little trickle stream going that way. So this needs to be excavated down about 5 feet and cleaned out that way. And then the problem is we only have about 200 feet of frontage here. There's still miles of it to go that way, so the county's got to work on that. I don't think it goes that way any farther. I don't know if that's an artificial drain coming that way or what the deal is there. We might have tile coming in from our second field up there. But so there's an outlet there, and these beans are looking good. I can't remember where the second one is. So yeah, this stream is almost, or this ditch, the water flow is almost non-existent through here. So if we could get this excavated and maybe even just make it where this holds water instead of, like, it'll still flow out eventually once it gets high enough, but get it to where those outlets are below, we might be okay. We might buy us some time before the county gets the rest of it cleaned. But trying to remember where I saw it at. Check up here. No, it's over there. Ideally, none of these trees should be along here. I don't know why they let trees grow up along drains. Nope, it's not there. But all these things do is eventually, you know, you're going to have tree roots in your tile. And eventually when there's water in your tile, tree roots look for water. So they get in your tile, and then every time it rains, that's where they concentrate root growth at. And you end up with a plugged tile eventually. So there's a hole here, so that's kind of a dead giveaway that there's a tile outlet out here. Right there. So another sediment basin, and there's a hole. And I can just barely see a little bit of pipe right there, but that's about it. Water is flowing, so I guess there's a little bit coming out maybe. But obviously with water being above it, you got to have quite a bit of head pressure to push water out. So what'll make this really fun cleaning out is we'll end up cleaning this probably, and while we're cleaning, you'll end up busting the head off of those tiles and then clean the ditch, and you end up having to chase it out and put in a new pipe coming out. So anyway, my long-term plan here is to run a main off of this ditch, probably up there farther. The farther up the ditch it is, the less risk of it becoming underwater, I guess is what I'm trying to say, and run it out. I can run that main all the way out that way, and there's a low spot up there where I can hook it around and bring it up almost to up in that area there, and I can run laterals up these hillsides and catch water coming down the hills. And then down here, what we will probably end up doing is just laterals off the ditch maybe, and then up that way, laterals off the main going up those hillsides. And then I can actually run that main around that hill farther and up, and there's a second swale on the other side of these hills that I can lateral off of, going on all those. I can just about pattern tile about 3/4 of this field off of this ditch, in my opinion. I don't know, I'm not a professional drainage guy, but from what I see, as far as grade goes, I can do that. And then there's a road ditch on the front side of this field where we already have an existing tile outlet that is also broke and plugged, and we plan on fixing that and then pattern tiling the last third or quarter or half of the front of the field off of that outlet. And I think then we'll have a fairly solid tile system out here, but that's a lot of money and equipment and tile. Look at that, wasn't like that when I planted. There's another tile hole starting right here. Lovely. Well, I'll probably drop a mark on Agfinity so I don't forget about that when it comes to spraying and combining, because that's about right where my sprayer track would end up being. About 45, 50 feet off of there. Man, I love this field. Yep. Another one. The bean's holding on for dear life right there. Hopefully we have some sort of equipment to do some of this work next summer, because this is going to wheat once these beans come off. And then we'll have a couple months next summer where we can have some equipment out here and working on something, getting some of this stuff tied up. Some of these holes, I don't know. I really don't know what you do with clay tile as far as fixing stuff. I think you can splice plastic onto it, and we'll kind of get these holes fixed up and covered back up. But I don't have the equipment, so it doesn't make sense to hire somebody to come in and put tile in when I know I'm gonna eventually have it, or I hope to eventually have it. So that was fun. A little bonus video for you guys, I guess. This isn't gonna get wrapped up into next week's videos because this is kind of a separate topic, and you guys can help me out in some advice in the comments too on how you guys would go about fixing this stuff. That one riser with it being cracked and settled off to the side, that's definitely got to be pulled out, and that riser's got to be redone. And we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and a 6th tile hole starting, so we'll have to address them as well. And then we will get this stuff half decently working again. I've got somebody with an excavator that might be able to bring it out next summer, and we'll see about cleaning that ditch out. And then yeah, we got a tree to yank there. We got 2 trees up front to yank out, and a tree on this other field to yank out, and a root ball to yank out that we cut down. So get these trees out of the fields, get these tile outlets fixed, get the tile holes fixed, get the tile riser fixed, and then we'll hopefully be in decent shape to make this field work halfway decently for a little bit to buy us time to get the proper equipment for tiling. So hope you guys enjoyed. I would definitely appreciate some advice down below to kind of give me some ideas on how to fix some of this stuff, and I would really appreciate it. So thank you for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe. I'll see you next time.